Let's look at sketching straight line inequality regions. The question says, label the region R that satisfies x is greater than or equal to 1, y is less than 4, y is greater than x minus 3, and x plus y is less than or equal to 5. Now, when we are sketching inequalities, if we have an inequality that has an equal sign, such as greater than or equal to, or less than or equal to, then we draw a solid line. And if we have a strict inequality like greater than or less than, then we draw a dotted line. Now, the approach is to draw the line x equals 1, bearing in mind that the inequality sign has an equals, and so we'll be drawing on a solid line. So on our diagram, if we go to the x-axis and we go to 1, our line is going to be a vertical line that goes through this point. Now, there are two approaches we can use. Either we can shade all of the regions that satisfy these inequalities and then look at the intersection, which is the region which will be labeled as R, or we can do the opposite and shade the region that we do not want, and then whatever is not shaded on the diagram will be the region R. And so that is the approach that we'll be using, which is to shade the regions that we don't want. So for x is greater than or equal to 1, that would be all of the values that are bigger than 1. So 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on the x-axis. Now, since we are going to shade the region that we don't want, we're going to shade all the values that are less than or equal to 1. So in this case, that would be the region on the left-hand side. And so we'll label this line as x equals to 1. Now let's move on to the second inequality, which is y is less than 4. And so again, we'll start by drawing the line y equals 4, and bearing in mind that the inequality is strict, we're going to draw a dotted line. And so if we go on to the y-axis this time and we go to 4, we're now going to draw a horizontal line that goes through 4. And so we can label this line as y equals 4. Now the inequality is y is less than 4, which means that we would want the values on the y-axis that are less than 4 here. So 3, 2, 1, and so on. But since we're shading the region that doesn't satisfy the inequality, we're going to shade the region above 4. The next inequality is y is greater than x minus 3. So again, we'll start by drawing the line y equals x minus 3. And since the inequality is strict, we'll be using a dotted line. Now we can see that the y-intercept of this line is minus 3, since when x equals 0, we get y equals minus 3. So we can plot that on the y-axis. If we also work out the x-intercept, that would be when y equals 0. So we would have 0 equals x minus 3, and so x equals to 3. So the x-intercept is at x equals 3. Since we have these 2 points now, we can use a ruler and then extend the line out to draw the line y equals x minus 3. Now, since the inequality is y is greater than x minus 3, we would want all of the y values that are above this line. But since we're shading the region that doesn't satisfy the inequality, we're going to shade all of the region below the line. And now for the final inequality, we have x plus y is less than or equal to 5. So again, we'll start by drawing the line x plus y equals to 5. And since the inequality has an equal sign, we'll be drawing a solid line. Now the first thing here would be to rearrange this into the form y equals mx plus c. And so to do that, we would take away x from both sides, which would give us y equals minus x plus 5. We can now see that the y-intercept is equal to 5, since when x equals 0, y equals to 5. On the y-axis, we can plot a point at 5 over here. Now to work out the x-intercept, we would substitute y equals 0, and so we would have 0 equals minus x plus 5, and so if we solve for x, we get x equals to 5. And so on the x-axis, we would now plot a point at x equals 5. And now using a ruler to connect these 2 points and then extend the line out, we get the following. And so if we label this line, this is x plus y equals to 5. Or we could have labeled it as y equals minus x plus 5. If we look at the original inequality, we had x plus y is less than or equal to 5. And now if we minus x from both sides, we get y is less than or equal to minus x plus 5. So in other words, we want all of the y coordinates that are less than or equal to this line. And since we're shading the region that we don't want, we would shade everything above the line. And so doing that, we get the following. And so the region that hasn't been shaded would be the region R. And if we draw over that to make it clear, we have the following. So this triangle that has been formed is the region R. And that is how we can sketch straight line inequality regions.